Hyunwoo stood in the center of the massive chamber and felt very small. The walls stretched up so high that he could barely see the ceiling. Around him, alien beings sat on floating platforms that moved slowly through the air. Some of the aliens were tall and thin with blue skin. Others looked like giant insects with too many eyes. A few were just clouds of gas that somehow talked through machines. The Galactic Council chamber was built to make visitors feel tiny. It worked very well on humans. Sojin stood behind Hyunwoo, her hand resting on a small device that held all their data. She had been his aide for 10 years. She knew how much this moment meant to their people. 200 years of trying to join this council as equals. 200 years of being treated like children. "The human delegation may speak," said a voice that came from everywhere at once. The translation machines turned the alien words into something Hyunwoo could understand, but they made everything sound cold and empty. Hyunwoo stepped forward. He wore his best suit, the one that had been his father's. His father had also been a diplomat, his grandfather too. 3 generations of his family had tried to make the aliens see humans as equals. "Honored council members," Hyunwoo began. His voice echoed in the huge space. "I come before you today with a simple request. Humanity has been part of this galaxy for 2 centuries. We have followed every law. We have paid every tax. We have sent our young people to fight in your wars. We ask only for what other races have, a voice in the decisions that affect all of us." A sound like laughter came from one of the floating platforms. It belonged to Thalmesh, the speaker for the Zenthari Empire. The Zenthari looked like humans but were much taller, with skin that changed colors. Thalmesh's skin was showing patterns that meant he found something funny. "The human speaks of equality," Thalmesh said. His voice was smooth like oil. "But what has your species truly contributed to our great civilization? Your ships are slow, your weapons are weak, your technology is borrowed from your betters." Other aliens made sounds of agreement. The insect-like beings clicked their mandibles. The gas clouds pulsed with different colors. The fish people in their water tanks blew bubbles that somehow meant yes. Hyunwoo felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice calm. "We have contributed much, honored speaker. Human engineers maintain the life support systems on 40% of the space stations in this sector. Human farmers grow food that feeds millions on worlds that were thought too difficult to farm. Human doctors have—" "Maintenance work," interrupted Crix, one of the hive mind representatives. Crix looked like a human-sized ant wearing robes. "You speak of maintenance work and farming. These are not the achievements of a great species. These are the tasks we allow you to perform because you are useful." The word useful hung in the air like a slap. Sojin stepped forward slightly, but Hyunwoo held up a hand to stop her. "We also ask for basic mining rights in the Outer Rim," Hyunwoo continued. "The asteroids in that region contain materials our colonies need. We are not asking for much. Just enough to—" "Denied," said Thalmesh before Hyunwoo could finish. "The Outer Rim resources are reserved for species capable of using them properly. Humans lack the technology to mine efficiently in that region." "We could learn," Hyunwoo said. "We could work with other species to—" "You could learn?" Thalmesh's skin patterns shifted to show amusement. "In perhaps 1,000 years, your species might develop the wisdom to use such resources. Until then, they are better left to those who understand their true value." Hyunwoo looked around the chamber. Not one alien face showed any support. Not one being seemed to think humans deserved even basic rights. He had hoped that maybe, after all these years, something had changed. But nothing had. "I see," Hyunwoo said quietly. He looked down at his hands. They were steady, even though his heart was beating fast. "And if we were to ask for representation on the council itself, even one seat among the 50? The chamber erupted in sounds that the translation machines turned into laughter. Real laughter, but not the kind that showed joy. It was the laughter people made when they heard something impossible and silly. A human on the council? Crix's antennae twitched. What could a human possibly add to our discussions? Your species thinks only of individual gain. You cannot make decisions for the good of all. You are too primitive." "Primitive," repeated Thalmesh, his skin now showing patterns of superiority. "Yes, that is the word. Your species has potential, perhaps. In time, you might grow into something worthy of respect. But that time is not now. Perhaps not for many generations. Hyunwoo felt something break inside his chest. Not his heart. That was still beating. Something else. Something that had been holding him together for all these years of trying and hoping and believing that things could change. "I understand," he said. His voice was very quiet now. The translation machines had to work harder to pick up his words. "You have made your position very clear." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. It contained every proposal his team had prepared. Plans for trade agreements, ideas for joint research projects, offers to share human knowledge. Freely with the galaxy, he had spent 5 years preparing these documents. Hyunwoo looked at the device for a moment. Then he put it back in his pocket without opening it. "So-jin," he said, turning to his aide, "please close our files. We will not be needing them." So-jin's eyes widened. She had expected him to fight harder, to argue more, to try one more time. But something in his voice told her that time was over. "Of course, Ambassador," she said. Her fingers moved quickly over her own device, saving and closing documents that would never be read by alien eyes. "Is the human delegation finished?" asked Crix. The ant being sounded bored. "Yes," Hyunwoo said. He stood very straight and looked around the chamber one more time. "We are finished. Thank you for your time, honored council members. You have given us exactly what we needed to know." "Good," said Thalmash. "Perhaps now your species will accept its proper place in the galaxy. You should be grateful for the protection we provide your backward species. Many empires would not be so generous with primitives." Hyunwoo smiled then. It was a small smile, but it was real. It was the first time he had smiled in this chamber in 10 years of trying. "Grateful," he repeated. "Yes, we will remember your generosity." He turned and walked toward the exit. So-jin followed him, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. Behind them, the aliens were already moving on to other business. Humans were forgotten the moment they left. As they reached the door, Hyunwoo stopped and turned back one last time. "Honored Council," he called out. His voice was stronger now. "I want to thank you for teaching us something very important today." A few aliens looked in his direction, mildly curious. "You have taught us that we are not welcome here, that we never were welcome here, that no matter what we do or how hard we try, you will always see us as servants and children. This is a valuable lesson. We will not forget it." Thalmash's skin patterns showed confusion. "What is the human saying?" "I am saying goodbye," Hyunwoo replied. "Humanity will no longer burden the council with our presence. We understand our place now. Thank you for making it so clear." With that, he walked out of the chamber. So-jin followed, and the great doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. In the corridor outside, So-jin grabbed Hyunwoo's arm. "Ambassador, what did you just do?" Hyunwoo kept walking toward their ship. His steps were quick and sure now, like a man who finally knew where he was going. "I did what I should have done years ago," he said. "I listened to what they were really telling us." Behind the closed doors of the council chamber, the aliens continued their meeting. They talked about trade routes and territory disputes and tax policies. None of them thought about humans again that day. They had no idea what they had just set in motion. 3 months had passed since Hyunwoo walked out of the Galactic Council chamber. The aliens had not tried to contact humanity even once. They seemed to think the humans were just having a tantrum that would pass. They were very wrong. Daehyun moved through the shadows of the Zenthari trade station like a ghost. He wore the gray uniform of a maintenance worker, the kind of clothing that made people invisible. Aliens looked right through workers like him. That was exactly what he wanted. He pressed a small device against the wall panel and waited. Numbers flowed across its screen as it copied data from the station's computers. Guard schedules, supply, manifests, communication logs, everything that showed how the station really worked. "Maintenance to level 7, came a voice over the speakers. "Ventilation repair needed in Section 12. Daehyun smiled. He had sent that fake repair request himself. While the real maintenance crew went to fix a problem that did not exist, he would have 20 minutes alone in the station's main computer room. He walked down the corridor with the slow pace of someone who did this work every day. Two Zenthari officers passed him without even looking. A group of traders barely noticed him. Being invisible was a skill humans had learned very well over the past 200 years. The computer room door was locked, but Dae-hyun had tools for that too. Human tools, made with technology the aliens thought was too primitive to worry about. The lock opened with a soft click. Inside the room, machines hummed quietly as they processed data from across the Zenthari Empire. Trade routes, military deployments, resource allocation, all the information needed to run a galactic civilization. Dae-hyun plugged his device into the main data port and started copying everything. While he waited, he thought about all the other humans doing the same thing on stations across the galaxy. Waiters copying alien communication codes, cleaners downloading patrol schedules, repair crews mapping every important system. For 200 years, humans had been the invisible workforce of galactic society. The aliens never noticed them, never thought about what they were learning. That was about to become a very expensive mistake. On the planet New Sol, Mi-young stood in a laboratory that officially did not exist. The entrance was hidden behind a fake wall in a food processing plant. The lab stretched deep underground, filled with machines and workbenches and experiments that would have amazed the Galactic Council. "How is the test going?" asked her assistant, a young engineer named Jae-wook. "Better than expected," Mi-young replied, watching numbers flow across her screen. "The quantum tunnel drive is stable at 97% efficiency. That's 3 times better than Zenthari hyperspace technology." Jae-wook shook his head in wonder. "How did we do it? The aliens have been working on faster-than-light travel for thousands of years." Mi-young smiled. "They got comfortable. When you think you're the smartest beings in the galaxy, you stop trying to learn new things. But humans never had that luxury. We always had to be better, smarter, more creative just to survive." She gestured to the machines around them. "Every piece of alien technology we could get our hands on, we studied it. We took it apart. We learned how it worked, and then we made it better. While they thought we were just copying their designs, we were improving them." The lab was one of dozens hidden on human worlds across the galaxy. For 50 years, the brightest human minds had been working in secret, preparing for a day they hoped would never come. That day was here now. "What about the evacuation ships?" Mi-young asked. "Jae-min reports that construction is ahead of schedule," Jae-wook replied. "The new yards are producing one ship every 3 days. The aliens think we're building cargo haulers." Mi-young nodded. The cargo haulers were actually advanced colony ships, each one capable of carrying 50,000 people and everything. They needed to start a new world. The aliens saw the ships moving through space and assumed humans were just expanding their trade operations. In the Kepler system, Jae-min stood on the observation deck of what looked like an ordinary asteroid mining station. But this station was a lie. Behind its fake walls and hidden docks, the largest construction project in human history was taking place. "Status report," he said to his aide, Bo Ram. "Construction Base 7 just finished hull assembly on the New Horizon-class vessel," Bo Ram replied, reading from her tablet. "That makes 23 ships completed this month. The aliens haven't noticed anything unusual." Jae-min looked out at the asteroid field where dozens of ships were hidden, their hulls painted to look like rocks. Each ship was longer than most alien space stations and packed with technology that would have shocked the Galactic Council. "What about supplies?" "Food production is at 110% of target. Medical supplies are ready?" "We have enough equipment to establish full industrial capacity on any world we choose." Jae-min nodded. "And the people?" "Harder to manage without raising suspicion." "But Yunha's transport fleet is moving families off-world in small groups. To the aliens, it looks like normal colony rotation." On the bridge of the cargo ship Bright Star, Captain Yunha watched her screens as another group of human families boarded a transport shuttle. They carried only small bags, as if they were going on a short trip. Their real belongings had been shipped out weeks ago, disguised as trade goods. "That's the last group from this sector," reported her first officer, Min Seo. "Good," Yunha said. "Take us to the next pickup point. We have 6 more colonies to evacuate before the month is over." Min Seo hesitated. "Captain, some of the families are asking questions. They want to know why they're being moved." "Tell them the truth," Yunha replied. "We're going home." "But where is home? We've lived in this galaxy for 200 years. Yunha smiled. Home is wherever humans can live free. We'll find it. The evacuation was the most complex operation in human history. Millions of people were being moved from hundreds of worlds, all without the aliens noticing. It required perfect timing, complete secrecy, and absolute trust. The humans had all three. On Earth, the mother world that had started it all, President Sung Min sat in his office reading reports from across human space. Every day brought new confirmation that the plan was working. The last research data has been transferred, his aide reported. Every human discovery, every technological advance, every piece of knowledge we've gained in 2 centuries, it's all been copied and distributed to the evacuation fleets. What about the infrastructure? Ready to be destroyed on your command. Every human-built system in alien space has remote shutdown codes. When we leave, we take our knowledge with us. Sung Min looked out his window at the blue sky of Earth. His ancestors had dreamed of joining a community of peaceful species among the stars. Instead, they had found masters who saw them as servants. Sir, his aide continued, there's one more thing. The alien monitoring stations have detected increased human ship movements. They're starting to ask questions. Let them ask, Sung Min replied. In 2 weeks, it won't matter what they think. In a bar on Zenthari Prime, a human waiter named Wu Sung poured drinks and listened to conversations. The alien customers talked, freely around him, as if he was just another piece of furniture. They discussed trade routes, military plans, political gossip, everything that humans needed to know. The humans seem restless lately, one Zenthari officer was saying to another. Ship traffic from their colonies has increased significantly. Probably. Just expanding their mining operations, the other replied. Primitives always think the solution to their problems is to dig up more rocks. Wu Sung smiled as he wiped down glasses. He thought about the quantum tunnel drives being installed in human ships, about the hidden colonies already being established, beyond the galaxy's edge, about the day, very soon, when these arrogant aliens would learn the difference between primitive and prepared. Another round? He asked politely. Yes, the first officer said without looking at him. And make it quick. Some of us have important work to do. Wu Sung poured their drinks and thought about important work. Like the small transmitter hidden in his sleeve that was recording every word they said. Like the data chip in his shoe that contained the complete layout of this military base. Like the message he would send tonight that would help humanity plan their departure route through this sector. The aliens thought humans were simple. They thought human work was unimportant. They thought human lives were worth less than their own. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In secret laboratories and hidden shipyards, in bars and maintenance tunnels, in the shadows and spaces that aliens never noticed, humanity was preparing for the greatest exodus in galactic history. The aliens had made their choice 3 months ago in that council chamber. They had told humanity exactly where they stood. Now, humanity was going to show them what standing alone really meant. The first alien to notice something was wrong was a Zenthari traffic controller named Vex Thul. He was watching the screens in the orbital control station above New Sol when he saw something that made no sense. Are you seeing this? He asked his partner, a hive mind drone designated Worker 47. Worker 47's insect eyes focused on the display. Clarify your concern. Look at the departure schedules. Every human transport in this system is leaving at the same time. All of them. That's not normal. On the screen, hundreds of ships were lifting off from New Sol's surface. Cargo haulers, passenger transports, private vessels, even small personal craft, all heading for the edge of the system. Perhaps they are conducting some primitive ritual, Worker 47 suggested. Human behavior is often irrational, but Vexthul was not satisfied. He opened a communication channel to the planet's surface. New Sol Control, this is Orbital Station Prime. Explain the mass departure of vessels from your world. There was a long pause before anyone answered. When the reply came, it was from Jae Min, the colony administrator. Orbital Station Prime, this is New Sol Control. We are conducting a planned evacuation exercise. All civilian ships are participating in emergency departure procedures. An exercise? Vexthul's skin patterns showed confusion. You did not file any paperwork for evacuation exercises. Another pause. The paperwork was filed with Earth Central. Perhaps there was a communication error. Vexthul switched to a different channel and tried to contact Earth, but the channel was dead. He tried other human worlds. The same thing. No response from any human government. Worker 47, he said, his skin now showing alarm patterns. Contact the Council immediately. Something is happening. On the bridge of the massive colony ship New Horizon, Admiral Sung Ho watched the evacuation with pride and sadness. Pride because everything was going according to plan. Sadness because they were leaving the only home most humans had ever known. Status report, he ordered. New Sol evacuation is 85% complete, reported Captain Bo-Ra. Estimated time to full departure, 6 hours. What about the other colonies? New Tokyo finished evacuation 4 hours ago. New London is loading their last transport now. New Mumbai will be complete within the hour. Sung Ho nodded. Across human space, the same scene was being repeated. Millions of people saying goodbye to homes their families had built over generations. But they were not fleeing in panic. This was organized. Planned. Precise. Admiral, came a voice from the communications station. We're receiving multiple contact attempts from alien authorities. They want to know what we're doing. Standard response, Sung Ho replied. Emergency evacuation exercise. Tell them we'll file the proper reports when the exercise is complete. He looked out at the stars and thought about the message they would leave behind. Not a message of anger or hate, but something much worse for the aliens. A message of indifference. On Zenthari Prime, Speaker Thalmesh was in an emergency meeting with his military advisors. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy, all saying the same impossible thing. Every human world is evacuating simultaneously, General Kexvar reported. This cannot be a coincidence. Perhaps they are planning some sort of attack, suggested Admiral Nextool. A coordinated strike against our territory. Thalmesh's skin patterns showed he was thinking hard. No. Humans do not have the military strength for such an action. This is something else. Then what? Kexvar demanded. Before Thalmesh could answer, an aide rushed into the room. Sir, we've lost contact with the human embassy. The building is empty. They left this message. The aide handed over a small data device. Thalmesh activated it, and a hologram of Ambassador Hyunwoo appeared in the air. To the Galactic Council, the hologram began. 3 months ago, you made it clear that humanity has no place in your civilization. You called us primitive. You called us servants. You told us to be grateful for your protection. We heard you. The hologram paused, and Hyunwoo's expression grew colder. Effective immediately, humanity is withdrawing from all galactic territories. We are taking our ships, our people, and our knowledge with us. You wanted us to know our place. Now we do. Our place is somewhere else. The message ended. The room fell silent. Find them, Thalmesh ordered. Use every sensor array we have. Track their ships. But the humans had thought of that too. In space, near the edge of the galaxy, Captain Yun Ha stood on the bridge of her escort vessel, watching the main evacuation fleet disappear into quantum tunnel space. The new human drive technology made their ships vanish completely from alien sensors. Last transport through the tunnel, reported her first officer. The evacuation fleet is clear. What about our rear guard? Yun Ha asked. Youngsu's squadron is holding position at the boundary. They'll make sure no one follows us. Yun Ha nodded. The rear guard was perhaps the most dangerous job of all. They would stay behind to monitor alien reactions and make sure the evacuation route stayed secret. If the aliens tried to follow, Youngsu and his ships would stop them. On the Hivemind homeworld, Node Prime was calculating possibilities at a speed that would have impressed even human computers. Every piece of data about the human evacuation was being analyzed, processed, and used to predict what would happen next. The calculations were disturbing. Emergency consensus required, Node Prime announced to the collective. Human departure will cause cascade failures across multiple systems. Other nodes began connecting to the calculation. As they saw the results, alarm spread through the Hivemind network. Specify critical failure points, requested Node 7. Agricultural output will decrease by 37% without human farming expertise. Industrial efficiency will drop by 42% without human maintenance protocols. Communication networks will become unreliable without human translation algorithms. The hive mind had never considered how much they depended on human skills. Humans had always just been there, doing the jobs that needed doing. Now they were gone, and the holes they left behind were enormous. Back on Zenthari Prime, the emergency meeting had grown into a full crisis session. Reports were streaming in from across the Empire, and none of them were good. "Sir," reported one aide, "the agricultural world of Thexmar is requesting immediate assistance. Their crop management systems are failing without human technicians. The industrial complex at Veltar has shut down 3 production lines," added another. "They cannot maintain efficiency without human supervisors." "Trade route efficiency is dropping across all sectors," said a third. "The shipping algorithms were all designed by human programmers." Thalmesh felt his skin patterns shifting to show panic, and he forced them to stay neutral. How is this possible? Humans were just workers. How could they be so important? General Kexvar looked uncomfortable. "Sir, we may have underestimated their contributions to our society." "Find a way to contact them," Thalmesh ordered. "Offer them whatever they want, full council membership, territory rights, anything." But when the Zenthari tried to send messages to the human fleet, they discovered another problem. All human communication relay stations had shut down. The network that carried messages across the galaxy was partially human-built, and without it, long-range communication became impossible. The humans had not just left. They had taken their infrastructure with them. On Earth, the last human transport was preparing to depart. President Sung-min stood in his office one final time, looking at the place where human galactic government had operated for 2 centuries. "Sir," his aide said quietly, "it's time." Sung-min picked up a small device from his desk. It contained the shutdown codes for every human-built system in alien space. Power grids, communication networks, life support systems, navigation computers, all would stop working when he pressed the button. "Are all our people clear?" he asked. "Yes, sir. The last ship cleared the galaxy boundary 20 minutes ago." Sung-min thought about the aliens who had never bothered to learn how their own technology worked because they had humans to do it for them. They were about to get a very expensive education. He pressed the button. Across the galaxy, lights went out. Communication networks fell silent. Ships lost navigation. Space stations began running out of air as life support systems failed. The humans had built more than the aliens realized. They had become the invisible foundation that held galactic civilization together. And now that foundation was gone. On his command ship at the galaxy's edge, Young-Soo received confirmation that the shutdown was complete. He opened a channel to broadcast one final message to any aliens who might be listening. "To the members of the Galactic Council," he said, "you told us we were primitive. You said we were servants. You claimed we should be grateful for your protection, but you never asked what we were protecting you from." He paused, looking out at the vast emptiness between galaxies where humanity was headed. "You are about to find out what happens when the servants stop serving. Good luck." With that, Young-Soo's ship activated its quantum tunnel drive and disappeared into the void, leaving the aliens alone with the consequences of their arrogance. Behind them, the galaxy began to collapse. Wu Jin watched through the viewport of his evacuation ship as the Zenthari industrial world of Keltar began to die. He had worked on that planet for 15 years, maintaining the massive automated factories that produced everything from starship parts to medical equipment. Now those factories were going dark one by one. "It's starting," he said to his wife, Hyejin, who stood beside him holding their young daughter. "I almost feel sorry for them," Hyejin replied, watching explosion after explosion light up the planet's surface as industrial systems overloaded. "Don't," said Wu Jin. "Remember what they called us when we asked for basic rights. Remember how they laughed." On the surface of Keltar, Zenthari Administrator Kex Thul was running through corridors that were filling with smoke. Warning alarms screamed from every speaker, and emergency lights flashed red in the growing darkness. "Status report!" he shouted into his communicator. "Fusion Reactor 3 is in cascade failure," came the panicked reply. "The safety protocols aren't responding. We need to evacuate the entire sector." "What about the human technicians? Get them to fix it." "Sir, the humans are gone. All of them. They left yesterday." Kexathul stopped running. For the first time, he understood what was happening. The humans hadn't just left their jobs. They had left a trap. The humans built those safety protocols, he said slowly. They were the only ones who understood how they worked. On her ship, data analyst Haiwan was tracking the collapse across dozens of worlds. Her screen showed a cascade of failures that was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. "It's worse than we thought," she told Admiral Sung-ho over the communication link. "The aliens didn't just depend on us for maintenance, they depend on us for basic survival." "Explain," the Admiral replied. "Look at this data from the Thexmar agricultural world. Human-designed crop rotation systems are failing. Without them, the plants are dying. That world feeds 12 billion aliens across 6 systems." Haiwan switched to another display. "And here, the Veltani system. Humans designed the orbit stabilization for their artificial moons. Without constant adjustments, the moons will crash into each other within 6 months. How many worlds are affected?" "All of them," Haiwan said quietly. "Every alien world has human-built infrastructure. We didn't realize it while we were there, but we became the foundation everything else was built on." On the HiveMind homeworld, Node Prime was processing failure reports faster than any individual mind could follow. The collective consciousness was starting to fragment as different nodes reached different conclusions about how to respond to the crisis. Human departure probability was not calculated correctly, admitted Node 7. Error margins were insufficient. "Recommend immediate pursuit of human fleet," suggested Node 12. "Negotiate for return of essential personnel." "Negative," replied Node Prime. "Human fleet movement patterns unknown. Pursuit ships lack range. For extended search. Then recommend immediate contact with human government for emergency assistance." "Negative. Human government has ceased all communication. Automated responses only." The HiveMind faced something it had never experienced before, a problem it could not calculate its way out of. The humans were gone, and without them, the careful balance of galactic civilization was collapsing. On Zenthari Prime, Speaker Thalmesh was learning exactly how much his empire depended on humans. The reports coming in were getting worse by the hour. "Sir," reported his aide, "we've lost communication with the Outer Rim colonies. The relay stations are shutting down one by one." "Use the military communication network," Thalmesh ordered. "Sir." The military network was maintained by human technicians. "It's failing too." Thalmesh felt his skin patterns showing emotions he had never experienced before. Fear, desperation, panic. "What about our ships? Send them to track the human fleet." "Our fastest ships are running into navigation problems, sir. The computer systems are malfunctioning without human-written software updates." General Kexvar entered the room, his uniform torn and his face grim. "Sir, we have a bigger problem. The food distribution network has collapsed. 3 worlds are already reporting shortages. How is that possible?" Humans designed the logistics algorithms that managed food shipments across the Empire. Without those systems, we don't know which worlds need what supplies or how to get them there efficiently. Thalmesh stared at his general. "Are you telling me that my entire empire is starving because some primitive humans wrote our shipping software?" "Yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm telling you." On the water world of Aksal, the fish people were facing their own crisis. Their underwater cities depended on atmospheric processors that maintained the delicate balance of gases in their oceans. The processors were failing, and no one knew how to fix them. "Contact the human maintenance teams," ordered city leader Gluberon. "The humans left 2 days ago," replied his aide. "They said their contracts were terminated." "Terminated? By whose authority?" "By their own, sir. They said they were no longer welcome in this galaxy." Gluberon's gills fluttered with anxiety. "How long can our cities survive without the processors?" "Unknown, sir. The humans never taught us how to maintain them." "They said the systems were too complex for our understanding. At the time, that statement had seemed reasonable. Humans were good with machines, so let them handle the technical work. Now it seemed like the most foolish decision in Akusal's history." On the gas giant moon of Vextor, the floating cities that housed millions of ethereal beings were beginning to lose altitude. The anti-grav generators that kept them airborne were shutting down one by one. Emergency protocols activated, announced the city AI. Evacuation procedures initiated, but there was nowhere to evacuate to. The ethereals could not survive on solid ground, and all their backup systems were failing simultaneously. "Why is this happening?" demanded High Ethereal Zixfin. "Unknown," replied the AI. "Maintenance protocols require human authorization codes that are no longer available. Override them." Unable to comply. Human-designed security systems prevent unauthorized access to critical functions. The humans had been thorough. Every system they built had safeguards that only they could bypass. Without human technicians, the aliens were locked out of their own technology. Back on her monitoring ship, Haiwan was documenting everything. Future human historians would want to know exactly what happened when an entire galactic civilization discovered how much they depended on people they had dismissed as primitive. "Food riots have started on 7 Zenthari worlds," she reported to Admiral Sung Ho. "The shipping networks have completely collapsed. What about the other species?" "The hive minds are trying to reorganize their entire society around the missing infrastructure. Some nodes have gone silent, probably calculating whether it's worth continuing to exist. The ethereals are evacuating their floating cities. The fish people are rationing air." Admiral Sung Ho was quiet for a moment. "Any word from the council?" "They've been trying to contact us for 3 days. The messages are getting more desperate. They're offering full membership, territory rights, even seats on the ruling committee." "Too late for that," the Admiral said. "They had 200 years to make those offers." On Young Su's rear guard ship, the communications officer was monitoring alien transmissions. Most of the networks were down, but some emergency frequencies were still working. "Captain," the officer reported, "I'm picking up distress calls from across the galaxy. Shipping accidents, industrial failures, food shortages, system collapses. It's like watching an entire civilization have a heart attack." Young Su looked at the displays showing the chaos spreading through alien space. Part of him felt sorry for them, but he remembered the laughter in the council chamber when humans asked for basic rights. "Any pursuit ships?" he asked. "A few tried to follow us, but their navigation systems failed when they reached the galactic boundary. They've turned back." "Good. Maintain position and keep monitoring. I want to know if they try anything desperate." In the council chamber where it all began, the remaining alien representatives were meeting in emergency session. But the session was not going well. Without human-maintained translation systems, the different species could barely understand each other. "Urgent need for human return," clicked the insect representative, his words coming through a failing translator that made him sound like a broken machine. "Agree strong," replied a Zenthari delegate. "Offer maximum compensation." "How contact?" "Human fleet?" asked an ethereal, its gas form pulsing with distress. "Communication network failed." "Unknown," admitted Thalmash. "All contact methods dependent on human infrastructure." The council sat in silence, listening to the sounds of their failing station. The lights flickered as power systems struggled without human maintenance. Air recycling units made grinding noises that suggested they would not work much longer. They had built their entire civilization on a foundation of human knowledge and labor. Now the foundation was gone, and everything was falling down. Outside the station, space itself seemed darker. Without human-maintained navigation beacons, ships were getting lost. Without human-designed safety protocols, accidents were increasing. Without human logistics networks, resources were not reaching the people who needed them. The galaxy was learning what the humans had been trying to tell them for 200 years. Everyone was. The Galactic Council was meeting in permanent emergency session now, but it was nothing like the Grand Assembly that had dismissed humanity 3 months ago. Half the delegates could not attend because their ships had broken down. The translation systems barely worked, forcing representatives to speak in broken basic galactic common. The chamber itself was falling apart, with life support systems struggling and lights flickering randomly. Speaker Thalmesh looked around at the chaos and felt something he had never experienced before. Genuine fear for his civilization's survival. "We must contact the humans," he said, his words echoing strangely in the damaged chamber. "Whatever it takes." "How?" demanded the insect representative, Crix. "Their communication networks are gone. Our long-range sensors cannot track their ships. We do not even know which direction they went." "Then we follow them," suggested General Kexvar, who had been promoted to emergency military coordinator. Send our fastest ships to search every possible route. Node Prime, the hive mind representative, processed this suggestion for several seconds before responding. Analysis complete. Available ships lack sufficient range for extended search operations. Fuel distribution networks compromised. Navigation systems unreliable without human maintenance. Thalmesh's skin patterns showed his growing desperation. There must be something we can do. Some way to reach them. At that moment, an aide rushed into the chamber carrying a portable communication device. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the edge of the galaxy. It's a human ship. The chamber fell silent. Every alien representative leaned forward as the aide activated the device. The holographic image of Captain Young-Soo appeared above the table. His expression was calm and professional, but there was something cold in his eyes that had not been there during previous human diplomatic contacts. This is Captain Young-Soo of the Human Rearguard Fleet, he said. I am authorized to receive official communications from the Galactic Council. Thalmesh nearly fell off his platform in his eagerness to respond. Captain, thank you for answering. We need to speak with your leaders immediately. There has been a terrible misunderstanding. Young-Soo's expression did not change. State your message, Speaker Thalmesh. I will relay it to the appropriate authorities. Tell them. Tell them we were wrong. We want to negotiate. Full council membership for humanity. Territory rights, mining permits. Whatever they ask for, we are prepared to grant. I see, Young-Soo replied. And what has changed since the council voted unanimously to deny these same requests 3 months ago? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Thalmesh looked around at his fellow delegates, all of them showing various forms of distress and panic. We have reconsidered, Thalmesh said weakly. We realize now that humanity's contributions to galactic society were more significant than we initially understood. Young-Soo nodded slowly. Ambassador Hyunwoo wishes to remind the Council that the human delegation made these contributions clear during their final presentation. The Council chose not to acknowledge them at that time. But surely you understand, Crix interrupted, her antennae twitching frantically. The current situation is unprecedented. Entire worlds are facing system failures. Millions of lives are at risk. The human government is aware of the situation, Young-Soo replied calmly. However, I am instructed to remind the Council that these systems were maintained by humans, working under contracts that you terminated when you asked us to leave. General Kexvar stepped forward. Captain, be reasonable. This is not about politics anymore. This is about survival. Surely humanity does not want to see entire civilizations collapse. For the first time, Young-Soo's expression changed slightly. Something that might have been sadness crossed his features. General, he said quietly, humanity spent 200 years asking to be treated as equals. We were told repeatedly that we were too primitive, too chaotic, too individualistic to deserve basic rights. We were told to be grateful for the protection you provided to our backward species. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the failing life support system seemed to pause. We were grateful, Young-Soo continued. We were so grateful that we maintained your power grids and grew your food and built your ships and repaired your machines, all while being told we were not worthy of a voice in our own governance. He paused, looking directly at each delegate. In turn, now you call this a misunderstanding. You offer us what we asked for 200 years ago. But you only offer it because you need us, not because you respect us, not because you believe we deserve it, because you need us to fix your broken machines. Thalmesh's skin patterns were cycling through colors that indicated severe emotional distress. What do you want from us? How can we fix this? Young-Soo's image flickered as the communication array struggled with failing power systems. The human government appreciates the Council's offers, but we must respectfully decline. We have found a better opportunity elsewhere. Elsewhere? Node Prime's mechanical voice rose in pitch. Specify location of alternative opportunity. I am not authorized to share that information, Young-Soo replied. However, I can tell you that humanity has made contact with other civilizations. Civilizations that value cooperation over domination, partnership over servitude. The implications of this statement hit the Council like a physical blow. Not only had humanity left the galaxy, They had found allies, possibly enemies of the Council's member species. "You must reconsider," Thalmesh pleaded. "Name your price. Anything. Full territorial sovereignty. Guaranteed council representation. We could even discuss leadership positions." Young-Su smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "Speaker Thalmesh, 3 months ago you suggested that humans might be worthy of respect in perhaps 1,000 years. Has your opinion of human development really changed so dramatically in such a short time?" I was wrong. We were all wrong." "Yes, you were. But not about human development. You were wrong about human patience." The communication began to break up as more systems failed throughout the station. Young-Su's image wavered and distorted. "Captain!" Thalmesh called out desperately. "Please! At least tell us how to repair our systems. We will pay any price for technical assistance." Young-Su's voice came through clearly, despite the visual distortion. "I am sorry, Speaker. Those systems were designed by humans for humans to maintain. The technical documentation was considered too complex for non-human understanding. I believe those were your exact words during the patent registration hearings 15 years ago." The transmission cut out completely, leaving the Council in darkness as another power grid failed. In the silence that followed, the delegates began to understand the true scope of what they had lost. It was not just maintenance workers and farmers. It was not just technical expertise and mechanical skills. They had lost the one species that understood how all the pieces of galactic civilization fit together. On his ship at the galaxy's edge, Young-Su closed the communication channel and turned to his first officer, Su-Min. "How did they take it?" she asked. "About as well as expected," Young-Su replied. "Any word from the main fleet?" "Admiral Sung-Ho reports they've made contact with the Andromeda Alliance. Initial negotiations are going very well. Apparently, they're quite interested in human agricultural and industrial techniques." Young-Su nodded. The Andromeda Alliance was a confederation of species from the neighboring galaxy who practiced actual equality among their members. When humanity's deep space scouts had made first contact 6 months ago, the difference in treatment had been immediate and obvious. "What about pursuit ships?" he asked. 3 Zenthari vessels attempted to follow our trail, but they all suffered navigation failures at the galactic boundary. They've turned back. The aliens seem to be trapped in their own territory by their failing infrastructure. Young-Su looked out at the vast emptiness between galaxies. Somewhere out there, millions of humans were starting new lives in a place where they would be valued as equals rather than tolerated as servants. "Maintain monitoring position," he ordered. "I want to know if they try anything desperate." But even as he said it, Young-Su knew the aliens were past the point of being able to try anything. Their ships were breaking down. Their communication networks were failing. Their governments were collapsing into chaos. They had become prisoners of their own arrogance. On the Zenthari homeworld, Speaker Thalmesh sat alone in his office, watching through his window as the lights of the capital city flickered and died one by one. Power grids designed by humans were failing across the planet, and no one knew how to fix them. His aide entered the room carrying a data pad. "Sir, the emergency committee is requesting your presence. They want to discuss rationing protocols." "Rationing?" Thalmesh's skin patterns showed confusion. "Rationing what?" "Everything, sir. Food, power, fuel, medical supplies. The distribution systems are collapsing faster than we can establish manual alternatives." Thalmesh looked down at his hands. 3 months ago, he had been the most powerful being in the galaxy, commanding an empire that spanned 1,000 worlds. Now he was reduced to discussing food rationing like some primitive survivor of a natural disaster. "Sir?" his aide prompted. "The committee is waiting." "Tell them I'll be there in a moment," Thalmesh replied. "I just need to—" 5 years had passed since humanity left the galaxy that had never truly welcomed them. Ambassador Hyunwoo, now showing more gray in his hair, but with eyes that held more peace than they had in decades, stood on the observation deck of New Terra Station. Through the massive transparent walls, he could see something that would have been impossible to imagine during those dark days in the council chamber. A thriving human civilization spread across the void between galaxies. Hundreds of space stations floated in perfect formation, connected by streams of light from ships moving between them. Massive agricultural platforms grew food in quantities that would have fed the entire Galactic Council. Industrial complexes built ships and machines, with technology that surpassed anything the aliens had ever dreamed of. "The morning briefing is ready, sir," said his aide, Jin Woo, a young man who had been born during humanity's exodus and had never known what it was like to be called primitive. "How are the Andromeda negotiations progressing?" Hyun-woo asked, as they walked through corridors filled with humans, Andromedans, and several other species working together as equals. "Very well, sir. The Crystalline Collective has agreed to share their energy storage technology in exchange for our quantum tunnel drive specifications. The Liquid Lords want to establish joint research stations in 3 more systems." Hyun-woo nodded. The Andromeda Alliance was everything the Galactic Council should have been. A true partnership of equals where each species contributed their strengths without anyone claiming superiority over others. What about the deep space exploration reports? Captain Namjoon's fleet has made contact with 2 more galactic clusters. Both civilizations are interested in opening diplomatic relations. Apparently, word is spreading about human agricultural and engineering techniques. They entered Hyun-woo's office, which looked out over the main construction yards where humans and their allies were building ships that could cross between galaxies as easily as the old ships had moved between star systems. Mi Young, now the chief scientist of post-galactic humanity, was waiting for them with a stack of reports and a smile that Hyun-woo had not seen during their years of struggle in the old galaxy. "Good morning, Ambassador," she said. "I have some interesting news from our research divisions. Good news, I hope? The best kind. Our joint projects with the Andromedans have produced 3 major breakthroughs this month alone. Faster than light, communication that works across galactic distances, manufacturing techniques that can build space habitats in days instead of years, and medical technology that can extend lifespans by centuries." Hyun-woo sat down at his desk and looked at the reports. In 5 years, humanity had advanced farther than they had in the previous 2 centuries of struggling under alien oversight. "There's something else," Mi Young continued, her expression becoming more serious. "Captain Namjoon's long-range sensors have detected signals from our old galaxy." "What kind of signals?" "Distress calls, emergency transmissions, requests for assistance. The patterns suggest massive infrastructure failures across multiple systems." Hyun-woo was quiet for a moment. He had wondered when this day would come. "Are they addressed to us specifically?" "Some of them. The rest appear to be general distress calls sent in all directions, hoping someone will respond." Jin-woo leaned forward. "Sir, what are your instructions? Should we respond?" Before Hyun-woo could answer, another aide entered the room. "Ambassador, Captain Namjoon is requesting priority communication from his flagship. He says it's urgent. Put him through." The holographic image of Captain Namjoon appeared above the desk. His expression was grim, but not surprised. "Ambassador," he said without preamble, "we've intercepted a message from the old galaxy. It's addressed to you personally." "From whom?" "Speaker Thalmesh, or what's left of the Zenthari government. Sir, the message is 5 months old. It took that long to reach us through normal space." Hyun-woo nodded. "Play it." The image changed, to show Thalmesh. But this was not the proud, arrogant leader who had dismissed humanity years ago. This alien looked exhausted, desperate, and much older. His skin patterns showed emotions that Hyun-woo had never seen from him before: humility, regret, and fear. "Ambassador Hyun-woo," the recorded message began, "I know you have no reason to listen to me. I know we have no right to ask anything of you, but I am asking anyway because there is no one else left to ask." Thalmesh paused, looking directly into the camera with eyes that held no trace of his former arrogance. "Our civilization is dying, not quickly, like in a war, but slowly, like a body whose heart has stopped beating. Every day, more systems fail, more worlds go dark, more people die because we cannot maintain the infrastructure that kept us alive." The alien leader's voice cracked slightly. "We were wrong. About everything. About you. About your people. About what it means to be civilized. You tried to tell us that we were all connected, that we all depended on each other, that treating some people as less important was not just wrong but dangerous. We would not listen." Thalmesh looked down at his hands for a moment before continuing. "The council is gone. Most of the member species have retreated to their homeworlds, trying to preserve what they can with failing technology. The hive minds have gone into deep hibernation to conserve resources. The ethereals have crash-landed their cities and are dying on planets they cannot survive on. The fish people are rationing air. He looked back up at the camera, and Hyun-woo could see something that shocked him. Tears in the alien's eyes. "I am not asking you to save us. I know it is too late. For that, I am asking you to remember us. When you build your new civilization among the stars, remember what we could have been if we had chosen wisdom over pride. Remember what we could have built together if we had seen you as partners instead of servants." The message was ending, but Thalmesh had one more thing to say. "We searched for you. For years we sent ships in every direction, hoping to find you and beg for your help. They all came back empty or did not come back at all. You have gone beyond our reach, to places we cannot follow. I hope that is a good thing. I hope you found what you were looking for." The hologram flickered and stabilized. "Tell your children about us, Ambassador. Tell them about the species that had everything they needed to build a peaceful galaxy, but threw it away because they could not let go of the idea that some people were worth more than others. Maybe your children will learn from our mistakes." The message ended. The office fell silent. After a long moment, Jin-woo spoke quietly. "Sir, there are other messages. Thousands of them. From survivors across the old galaxy. They all say basically the same thing." Hyun-woo stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human children were playing in a park built on one of the station's recreational levels. Andromedan younglings played. Alongside them, their crystalline forms sparkling in the artificial sunlight. No one cared about species or hierarchy or who was primitive and who was advanced. They were just children playing together. "What are your orders, sir?" Mi-young asked. "Do we respond?" Hyun-woo thought about the arrogant council that had dismissed his people as primitives. He thought about the laughter that had followed humanity's requests for basic rights. He thought about the sneers and condescension and casual cruelty that had driven his people to the edge of the galaxy. Then he thought about the children playing outside, his grandchildren, and Mi-young's grandchildren, and the grandchildren of every human who had suffered through those years of humiliation. "No," he said finally. "We do not respond." The room was quiet for a moment. "Sir?" Jin-woo asked. Hyun-woo turned back to face them. 40 years ago, my father stood in that council chamber and asked for mining rights for human colonies. He was told that humans were too primitive to use resources efficiently. 20 years later, I asked for the same thing and received the same answer." He gestured toward the window and the thriving civilization beyond. "Look what we built when we stopped asking for permission. Look what we accomplished when we stopped waiting for others to recognize our worth. We gave them 200 years to see us as equals. They chose not to." "But sir," Mi-young said gently, "they're dying. Entire civilizations are collapsing." "Yes, they are," Hyun-woo agreed. "And that is tragic. But it is not our tragedy. It is the consequence of their choices, just as our success is the consequence of ours." He walked back to his desk and picked up a report about the new colonies being established in the Triangulum Galaxy. "We offered them partnership. They wanted servants. We offered them cooperation. They wanted submission. We offered them our knowledge freely, and they told us we were too primitive to understand our own discoveries." Hyun-woo set the report down and looked at each person in the room. "Captain Namjoon will log the messages in our historical archives. Future generations should know what happened to the civilization that refused to learn from its mistakes. But we will not respond. We will not send aid. We will not return." "And if they somehow manage to find us?" Jin-woo asked. "They will not," Hyun-woo said with certainty. "Their technology was always dependent on ours. Without us, they cannot even maintain their own spaceships, much less build ones capable of traveling between galaxies." He walked to a shelf where he kept a small device, the proposal he had prepared for that final council meeting 5 years ago. The O